Amen. Welcome, brothers and sisters. We thank and praise God for your presence on this powerful day today as we celebrate the Black family, Black men, Juneteenth, and Father's Day, all converging in one weekend. We've come together to commemorate Juneteenth and commemorate these days that we've mentioned, as well as our continued journey for justice. This year, our Juneteenth celebration converges with Father's Day weekend. And so we want to lift up the healing of the Nations Foundation, the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference, and Real Men Cook, because on days throughout this weekend, there's separate collaborations that have taken place to organize this powerful weekend of commemorations that will nourish our minds, nourish our bodies and spirits for the journey ahead. I'd be remiss if I did not mention to some, teach and tell some others that this work is tied to the wisdom of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah A. Wright Jr., the vision of Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III, and it's under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Jim Forbes, Reverend Dr. Mama Iva Carruthers, the Sister Yvette Moyo, who founded Real Men Cook in Chicago well over 3 decades ago. I want to make sure that we're clear that we are celebrating what some of us have been talking about all of our lives. We're celebrating Black men, we're celebrating fatherhood and Juneteenth, and we understand very clearly that when President Abraham Lincoln signed what we know as the Declaration of Independence that declared our ancestors free, we're clear that there was another letter that was read in 1865 in Texas that gives us what this celebration is today. It was General Order Number 3 that was read by Major General Gordon Granger. But what we're clear on is that although the Emancipation Proclamation declared our ancestors free, we understand that there was a letter that Abraham Lincoln wrote that said very clearly that the Emancipation Proclamation was not about freeing Black people from slavery, but it was in fact about saving the Union. And so in an age where we've got voter integrity laws, in an age where people are trying to take back the perceived or real power that Black people have gained, we recognize that history really is best qualified to reward our research. And it's these kinds of strong Black men, Black fathers, and Black families that will lead us to the freedom that we've been talking about for so long. And so we're excited about this intergenerational discussion between Black fathers and their children, recognizing the strength and faithfulness of Black men. And we're thankful that renowned poet, Brother Hank Stewart, has thought it not robbery to share with us one of his original pieces that encapsulates all that we have talked about thus far and will be talking about in the moments to come.
It doesn't matter how tall I am. What you need to know is that I stand for the right things. Now, I don't have a lot to say, but when I speak, you need to listen because I'm sure it will make a difference. Now, don't worry about how much money I have in my pockets. You see, it's my contributions to this world. That's what puts me in the category as a millionaire. And I'm not trying to be arrogant, brothers and sisters. No, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but you see, even when I'm in an empty room with my pride, the room is still full to capacity. You see, I'm a voice in this country, and yes, I deserve to be heard. I'm a Black man. A Black man, and do you know that I helped build this country, and for a while, the only place that allowed me to sit was in the rear of a room or on the back of a bus. I'm a Black man. A Black man, and every time you stop at a traffic light, do you know what? You should think about me. Well, yes, my skin is dark. It is as dark as the berries that run wild in the fields now that my great-grandparents once picked cotton. My hands are rough. But then I tell you earlier that I built this country. I'm a Black man. A Black man, and I'm angry. I'm so angry that I'm going out to do something good. No, I'm not afraid. I fear absolutely no one. I'm the creator, so get out of my way. Yes, get out of my way if you're not going forward. Just say I ain't got time to be tired. My daughter needs a father. My son needs a role model. And my wife needs a man. Didn't I tell you to get out of my way if you're not going forward? There's so many brothers that need my help because maybe they're hooked on drugs, and there's homeless people that needs to be shown just a little bit of love. You better get out of my way if you're not going forward, so that I can make the difference. Yes, I'm a man. I'm the man. And thank God that I'm a black man. Happy Father's Day.
Hey, this is Pastor Derrick Rice, the People's Pastor, coming to you once again to say a hearty thank you for you choosing and thinking it not robbery to view and share with us in this powerful intergenerational discussion between fathers and their children. We're recognizing the strength and faithfulness of black men on today. We want to begin by saying a heartfelt thank you to Brother Hank Stewart for that very powerful piece of prose, that poem that he shared specifically for this event. Hank is a world-renowned poet who shared his gift with us today, and we're thankful for it. Then I want to introduce to some and present to others a group of very prominent and present brothers and their children who are primarily in the Atlanta area. I want to lift up Attorney Miguel Dominguez and his son Lion. We'll hear from Dr. Christopher Bass and his son Chris. We'll hear from Attorney Mawuli Davis and his son Kobie. We will hear from Dr. Gerry White and his daughter Jaya. We'll hear from Grammy Award-winning Q Parker and his son Q Jr., Q the third, actually. We'll hear from Brother Ray Muhammad and his son Sharrieff. And then we'll hear from Reverend Marcus Tabb out of Chicago and his son Michael. And I would obviously be remiss if I did not mention the fact that we'll also hear from two of my daughters, my oldest daughter Jaelyn and my youngest Zion. And God bless you, brothers and sisters. Thank you for sharing. At this point in our discussion in this program, that I introduce the host for this very important discussion, none other than Brother Derrick Boazman. I call him the People's Prognosticator. He's a graduate of Morris Brown College. His brother is one of the youngest black men to be elected to Atlanta City Council. He's a rebel rouser with a cause. He's a person that loves black people beyond what makes any sense. And he, along with many of the brothers that are on this call, is one of the co-founders of Let Us Make Man, the gathering to reclaim black manhood. And we're thankful that he has graciously offered his time to moderate this discussion. So without further ado, Brother Derrick Boazman, we are now in your hands, sir.
Thank you, Reverend Rice, for the very generous introduction, but you could have just said, just as in Maddie's baby boy from the south side of Atlanta. What an important conversation. And so we're very grateful to the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference for having this kind of conversation. Too often, the black man and brothers are left out of the conversation. And so tonight we get an opportunity to do something that's unique, in that we have some great men who are fathers, men who are sons and uncles, men who are in the community in substantial ways, and black men who are just struggling every day to be black men. And we get an opportunity to talk to their sons. Now, this is an authentic conversation. No questions have been given in advance. And so I'm going to ask the brothers now, by show of support and vote, are y'all ready to move forward with this conversation? Because they didn't give me no guidelines or no rules. And I know all y'all jokers, right? And I know all of your sons and daughters. And so if y'all want me not to proceed, I'll stop now and then just go and have a Coca-Cola and watch Forensic File. But if we're going to proceed, we'll proceed. Hearing no objections, let's have a conversation about authentic manhood and about authentic fatherhood. Talk about the challenges of raising a daughter. I mean, we see protests that broke out all across the country, and there were a lot of young ladies out there. What is the difference for you all, Dr. White and Reverend Rice? What's the difference? How are you more protective, or not having sons, you wouldn't know? What's the difference, do you think, in between raising girls and young men?
You know, one of the interesting things, and always, because every once in a while people say, well, you don't understand because you don't have sons. And I have to remind them, being one of 23 kids, all boys and 7 girls, don't have a son, but I clearly know what it's like to be among many sons. But I'll tell you, one of the greatest misnomers that people have about daughters is that this notion that we default they have to be protected and they have to be cared for. One of the most powerful things about the movie Black Panther is that it presented an image of Black women and our girls as we're raising and training them that people don't understand. So my daughters are warriors. They're absolute warriors. And even as they look and move into dating and all that, they understand the notion of enhancement, not the notion of somebody completing them. And so for me, understanding what that part is and the expectation that they have. And, you know, I'm committed to Let Us Make Man in the making of boys because there's a reality that a broken brother is no good for a well put together sister. And so we have a commitment to do that because this one here and those other two, you know, they have a standard that is very basic. And that's how they see me take care of their mama. And so they're very clear on what those things look like. And that's the challenge that I really put on all of us who are those who are raising sons, is that we have a shared responsibility and a shared goal. But with girls, we teach them as real girl dads, we teach them to be warriors, which is a concept that people have to wrap around their mind, but they're warriors, all of them.
All right. Jaya, what does that look like? Having your dad there, and no, you kind of described it a little bit. But at the end of the day, you know, this is a dude that you can call that he is serious about family. He's not kidding around. Do you hesitate in letting him know, because you know how serious he is about anything you might be going through that might require his input?
No, like with my dad, and the best thing is that what a lot of people like tend to miss is that, yes, he's very like, he's a serious person. He has his goofy side, but he's a serious person. But the thing is that he has a therapist hat that he puts on. So when I need to talk to him, he can put on his therapist hat. He still has his dad hat on, but he puts on his therapist hat to where he's listening, he's understanding, and it's not judgment. It's more so of, you know, helping me, giving me the advice that I need to hear, or maybe advice that I don't even want to hear, but I need to hear it anyway. Is that, like, you know, he's there, he's willing to tell me. So I wouldn't be scared to tell him anything because he knows how to respond. He knows how to help rather than just not.
And so people know that Gerry is a social worker by training and a therapist by counselor by profession. Reverend Rice, Zion, and Jaelyn. Jaelyn and Zion, talk a little bit about your dad as the protector. What has that been like for you all?
Extremely protective, but it's comforting at the same time knowing that he's there or is always going to be there. But he can be a helicopter sometimes. Yeah. But I guess that's what happens when he has 3 girls.
Yeah. Zion, does the helicopter fly too low sometimes?
Yes.
Tell us every time we say, Dad, hold on, I got this.
Right.
That's all right. Rev.
Yes, sir.
You're a helicopter for good reason.
I am.
Talk about what's different, you think, because you don't have a son. What is that difference for you, you know, and the way you raise your girls or protect them?
Well, I mean, because I don't have a son, I'm somewhat, I'm making some assumptions, but watching For instance, Kobie and Kahari, from the very beginning, watching other young brothers that have been raised in my presence. One of the things that I view as different is there's a very quiet sort of warrior strength that Dr. White mentioned that is embedded in these young girls because of what's in their DNA. For instance, Jaelyn, my oldest, has been through more in her short life than most people who are maybe even octogenarians could not survive. She's got a strength that it just doesn't make sense. And so for her to have made it to the other side of finishing an undergraduate degree and being promising in terms of the things that are yet to come, is nothing but God that has brought her as long as she's come. Kyla's not here, so I won't mention her now, but I've got a similar example of her. But then Zion, the youngest, I just had to have a conversation with her today. In fact, she pulled her hamstring in practice for what could be a summer season ending injury. And she's so competitive that she's upset about what took place. But what I had to share with her was, here's a young lady that at the Georgia State Championship track meet with a hamstring injury on her other leg, ran at 85%, and yet won the state championship in the 100-meter hurdles, yet came in second place in the 300-meter hurdles, and she's operating at 85%. And what I've been trying to push her to understand is if 85% means you're better than 90% of the other girls on the track, what happens when you're operating at 100%? I know a whole lot of people that would not have even competed with the injury that she was dealing with. So there's a quiet strength, and we're just talking about track. My daughter's exemplified with Mawuli Davis, swears his grammar school coach coined the term he coined. But my daughters are true scholar athletes. This girl got 3.7 GPA as well. And so Tennessee State, as a junior in high school, has already offered her a full scholarship to go to school, and she doesn't even graduate till next year. And so I don't know where they got the strength, but I'm thankful that that piece that I'm picking up on is different. They're not little dainty girls. If you allow them to be who they are, there's some strength lessons that you can learn from them. I'm thankful for.
Very good. Let's go to the sons of Tabb and Davis and Dominguez, the lawyer's and the preacher's son. The three of you all as sons have fathers in very high profile vocations. Have there ever been a time that you wish that your dad was just a firefighter or a policeman or just the Wendy's hamburger cooker? Because those professions place a lot of demand for their time and energy. Son Tabb, have you ever wished your dad did something different?
Have I? Honestly, no, not really, because I feel like him being and doing what he did really helped form me as my character and helped form me as the person I am today.
Reverend Tabb, you want your son to be a preacher?
Nope.
Why not?
All three of my sons. I have one who's a local artist here in Chicago. Another son who is there in Atlanta, actually, who just graduated from Clark as a theater major. And this one is at Kentucky State University as a music major as well. Dean's List in his first year, so I'm kind of proud of him. But you know, they find their own ways. I don't wish for them to be anything but themselves. Their mom is a pastor as well, so you know the influence is there, but the world around them might show them something like a little bit different, especially since they're PKs and they know how the hot dogs are being made. I don't think they're gonna go towards.
Dominguez.
Yes, sir.
You know, your dad is a busy dude. He is ascending in the legal profession like supernova. Every time you turn around, people are lifting it up for good reason. Have you ever wished that he did something different, and why?
Um, no, I don't ever wish that he did something different because this is what he loves to do, and uh, yeah, he's passionate about what he's doing, and yeah.
Miguel, what did your son say? Hey, I want to be a lawyer too. What's your general thought? Because as a lawyer, you understand better than most because you teach it and let us make man in other places. The dangers oftentimes of being a young Black man in Atlanta, in the country. What do you say to your son? What do you tell him? What do you drill into all of your sons and your daughter? Their responsibility and their obligation to be safe. What do they get from you as an attorney who go in and, whether as a criminal defense attorney or whatever the case, personal injury attorney, you see what happens in these streets. Does it make you warn them even greater than what you ordinarily would?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, Mawuli and I have talked about this for years about how much time we spend away from our family, away from our boys, and investing in other young people, really round the clock. And so when I get home, sometimes our own children are not at those programs, which we've tried to change now a little more than we used to in the past. But when I get home, I've got to make all those deposits. In terms of the practice of the law, the law can be useful as a tool in terms of helping them think through some of society's problems and come up with solutions. But at the end of the day, there's never been any pressure for any of them to be lawyers. I think there's a lot of other things that one can be in the community that might be much more useful, and really most importantly, just making sure that they're living their life with purpose, and that whatever they do, they are doing it well with excellence, that they're making their community proud, and that they're leading from the front. And so that's my hope for Lion and all the children.
All right. Kobie?
Yes, sir.
Your dad represents some of the highest profile elected officials. Hell, he represented me. He's represented from mayors to rappers. But he is an advocate. And a lot of times you and your brother Kahari are in the audience. Have you ever been scared for him and the work that he does? Have you ever had to say to him, Dad, is there something else you willing to do?
No, I've felt that way a couple times in the past when he's had like some high profile cases, or if he's led some big protests. I know it's definitely some people who don't want to see him leading those protests, but because he's not scared, and like he tells me like this is what he's meant to do, and he's meant to lead, and like that's his purpose. Like I can't let my fear like come in between that. So I kind of just like, I'm used to it now, and I'm like, I want to like fill the shoes that he's in, the path that he's kind of set up for me and Kahari already. So I've just I've gotten over that fear of like, I wish you would like change professions or like be more low profile, I guess.
Yeah. Attorney Davis, your boys went out into the streets. They said, Dad, look, it's our time. It's our revolution. The last couple of years, they experienced what tear gas tastes like, and was on the front lines of protest. Were you nervous for them?
Oh, I was I was terrified because we know, all of us who've been a part of protests and, those of us who represent people who've been protesting right now. Miguel has a case of a young lady who about lost her eye out at the protest, the very protest that Kobie and Kahari were in, because they start firing what they describe as rubber bullets, but it's really, projectiles that can take your eye out and damage you. So I was scared. I was definitely concerned. I went looking for them. I tried to join them where I could. One point Kahari was like, I'm good. Why don't you go protest somewhere else? I was like, you gonna have me? I'm like, Negro, I brought you to the first protest, and he gonna tell me, why don't you go protest over there with the old folks or something? So, but I just see, it's not that I'm afraid what they will do. I just know these the oppressor will, and they have no concern for for our young people, and that's why we have to fight. But I was proud of them. I was proud of them to see that they felt without our prompting that they needed to go out and put their body out there on the line with their peers to make a statement that it's time to change this country and this world. So I was proud. Those are some of my proudest days, to be able to, when people call, my sons are out there. They're out there. They were doing it like a job because, wasn't nobody employed. So they were just going out there. So I'm grateful for their sense of activism.
Sharrieff, your dad is a Marine by training, FOI, Fruit of Islam, a minister in the nation, a brother now who is coming to his hometown, Griffin, Georgia, shaking things up down there. Did he bring the military home? Did he bring that structure? What was he like as a dad? And what is the one profound lesson in terms of, you talk about him being disciplined? Was he a no nonsense dad, and was that good for you?
Oh yeah, for sure. As far as bringing like the military, like the militancy in the home, yeah, for sure. Which I think was a good thing because they like instill like discipline in me that you don't really see in a lot of like young people or like people in general. You know what I mean? You don't see that kind of like discipline too often. Yeah, and what's the other question you said?
No, I was saying, so you said basically he did bring kind of the law and order,
definitely.
The militancy home.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. And
did he spank you a lot?
Nah, not at all. Not at all. It's like when I did get whooped, I went crazy, I was going crazy at that point. So I had to get a little straightening. But yes, sir.
There you go. Muhammad.
Yeah.
What was the greatest challenge for you being a father? What has been the greatest challenge for you raising a son and daughters?
Yeah, wow. What a very profound question, because there are many challenges, but I think the greatest challenge for me, for my son, was to realize that Sharrieff is growing up and he's growing into his own and becoming his own man, because I tried very hard to kind of structure his life as best I could so that he would not fall victim to the things that I fell victim to as a young man and as a young father. I wanted my son to be the best that he could be, like every other parent wanted for their child. When I got my son, I was so proud. That was a very, very proud moment for me, because it meant that I could fully structure his life to the point that it drove Sharrieff crazy sometimes because I just wanted the best for him. And I've always taught my child, my son, to be a protector of his sisters and his mother. So Sharrieff have a profound love for women in general. And that's because of the way that he was raised as a young boy, always getting the doors for his sisters and his mother. And he know that I would not tolerate anyone bothering his sisters, and he did not deal with that situation. So those great moments, so many great moments I have for him. Graduating high school was, I think, the epitome of my greatest moment, because I know the struggles that he went through in order to achieve that set above. He did a remarkable job, and I was so proud of him that he walked across that stage.
All right. We got about 15, 20 minutes before we have to wrap it all up, but we got to go to Q Parker and Lil Q. Q Jr., your dad is a Grammy Award winning, has traveled the world over. But he's always found time to kind of be there for you. What is the fondest memory as of now? Because there'll be many more. Or the time you spent, or the place you went, or the time you were with your father and say, hey, it's dope to be with my dad. What is your greatest memory of hanging out with him, whether in the industry or outside the industry? What was your favorite memory of hanging out with your dad, Q Parker?
One of my favorite memories would have to be the Bad Boy tour, to be honest. Me just knowing that my dad was a singer was one thing, but to know that he was signed to the label of one of the most popular rap artists at one time, that kind of blew me away, right? So when I saw him up there performing, people like Lil Kim, Puff, people like that, it just blew me away a little bit. So one of the greatest moments would have to be when he brought me on stage. And I just saw the crowd. It was just, it was breathtaking.
Okay. Q.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know that's your son, and I mean, I understand how the placement goes, but you and I have been good friends for a long time, but you never brought me on the stage at the Bad Boy. What did it mean in that moment? Because, man, you've been, again, I've been around the world, some of the biggest name artists, but you wanted them to know about your son. And I won't tell the story, we don't have enough time. How you and I cemented our friendship is watching you and your son really at a concert at the radio station that I was at. Everybody was going crazy, all these A-list folk, but you were walking your son through and he was asking you questions. You were oblivious to what was going on. What was it like for you to bring your son and introduce Lil Q on a stage that big?
Oftentimes, the father is wanting to be proud of the son. But I remember when Quintus was little, as he was growing up, it was a moment where 112 kind of took a hiatus. And so during his earlier years, I wasn't performing as often. And so I would always just say in my mind, man, I just hope one day that my son will get to see me in the magnitude of what my musical career really has been. And then when we reunited, and then the Bad Boy Family tour came, for him to actually be old enough to witness Dad perform and to see how people responded to the music that I made, even at his age right now, to be able to share those moments with him, it meant everything to me. Even when we were on the tour, I took him with me the entire tour so that he could really see what the life was like. So if I never did it again, he could have a memory in his mind of not only is my dad just a singer, but it's so much hard work that goes into just what you guys would see as a performance. And I wanted to share that with him so that he could see the dedication, the hard work, and the commitment to being great.
Very good. Dr. Bass? And little Chris?
B.
Legacy. You mentioned legacy. You cemented your legacy with your son. He went to your institution, and so you want to make sure that. But talk about when you look at him from the first day you brought him home from the hospital to this hour where he's grown into a man in full.
You know what, DB? It's amazing when I sit and think about it, because, you know, he was supposed to be born on my birthday. So I was excited about him being born on my birthday because it was going to be my gift. Not that it was only on me, it was on his mom, but, you know, I was thinking that it was going to be my birthday present. And over these years, you know, my son turns 20 in a couple of weeks. And, you know, he continues to be my birthday present every year. I'm so excited to see him and where he's going, you know, going into his junior year, you know, as a physics major. It's something that I had never even dreamed about. I mean, I would love for him to be a psychologist, but, you know, that's not going to happen. But I'm so proud. I'm so proud of him every single day. And it means so much more to me every single day that I get to breathe, to see this young man becoming the young man that he's becoming.
Yeah. Look, Chris, you let him know that as a physics major, you're gonna make more than a psychologist.
Hey, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah, you in his retirement plan, he better, yo.
Yeah. Me and Jaya were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. Y'all have a special relationship. Y'all look like y'all have a special relationship. You are super proud of your dad, aren't you, Chris? What do you? But let me say, you can be super proud of him, but if there was one thing about him or his personality that you would change, what would it be?
This is kind of a catch-22 because it would be the selflessness and how he takes on everybody's energy. And so, I mean, with the profession, you know, it's hard to say not to do that. But, you know, sometimes I see how much he takes on, you know, from various clients and students. You know, and that can be draining, you know, and that I see that, you know, when he comes back from work and he's tired, you know, that would be one thing that I would, you know, I wish that he could, you know, change. But it's kind of hard because, you know, you can't tell him to, you know, change what he does, you know. Right. So that would be one thing. But at the same time, I definitely see the impact, you know, that he does and how he carries. And, you know, I appreciate that. And I see it.
All right. I think we got everybody in that round. Did I miss anybody that round? Let's go to the closeout round where we'll start at the top with Reverend Tabb. And as we close out this segment, again, want to thank the Proctor Conference. I want to thank them personally for asking me to host this conversation that is so critical and so important. I hope that we will keep this conversation going. Reverend Tabb, let's go to you and your son. Talk about the one person who hadn't been mentioned, Reverend Tabb, is your own father. And whether it's the father or the significant father figure in your life, you know, if your biological father wasn't there, what lesson did your father teach you that you want to transmit to your son? Or what lesson did he not teach you that you want to omit from your son's life? Let's start with Reverend Tabb.
I would say, can you hear me? Is my sound okay?
Yes.
I would say that for all three of my sons, the lessons that they taught me, that my father taught me, that I pass on to them.
And call your father's name. We've even filed.
My father's name is Miguel Tabb. Lost him right at the beginning of COVID. Last year, passed on some great lessons. He, as my son said about me, my father was determined. He was a barber, had his own barbershop at 17 and did it for 40 years. Had his own business and raised his family. So my father was always there. As Michael just reminded me that he can call me at any time and I would show up. That was my father. He took us to all our games. He took us to, all of our activities. He was always there, even though he had his own business. Now, what I would omit, he was a married player. So I would take that.
Yeah.
He wasn't the best husband in the world, but he was a great father. So
all right.
I try to be there for my sons just like my father was there for me.
Lil Tabb, on this Father's Day, what are you thankful? Look at your father and tell him what are you most thankful for what he's done for you up until this point.
I'm definitely thankful that he's instilled like amazing principles in me, and like also my brothers, and that he's like, shown us like so much of like what we, not only what we can be, but what we should be, not like as black men, is like black adults, you know what I mean? Like, and he's like definitely showed us like so much of like what the real world is like. Sorry, that's Turbo.
Even the dog, what's the dog's name?
Turbo.
Even Turbo agreed. Thank you, Turbo, for joining the conversation. Reverend Derrick Rice. Let's call your father's name of the significant male figure in your life. What is the profound lesson he taught you? And then we ask Jaelyn and Zion, what are they thankful for their father on this Father's Day?
My father, as just about everyone knows on the call, is Paul Rice. And Paul Rice is a hero of mine because without using the language, he was the first person who lived out for me what it means to be a Black nationalist, Pan-African acting person. I didn't realize until probably 30 years after the fact that he sent me to a camp that Baba Jacob Carruthers and Dr. Ivor Carruthers started when I was maybe 6 years old, called Camp Jaya, which was a very intentionally Black nationalist organizing organization. And he injected that in me in a while. He was also born and raised in a community called Morgan Park in Chicago, which taught me that community that it really does take a village to pour into Black folk the way that they should be. And as I'm looking at, as Dr. Bass mentioned it, this Brady Bunch, these squares of people, every person in every square except Reverend Tabb has played a significant role in at least one of my children's lives during something. All of you all, from Jaelyn graduating to Zion being prayed for. This community has meant more to my family than words can explain. And I understood the importance of that first from Paul Rice. And I'm thankful for it.
Jaelyn and Zion, looking at your dad, what are you thankful for on this Father's Day for your dad, the Reverend Derrick Rice?
For me, I would say, thank you for being an example of what determination and perseverance and hard work looks like. And confidence, like Kobie said about Uncle Mawuli. You light up rooms when you walk in. People know who you are. You might not always think that people know who you are, but everybody knows who you are. In a good way, definitely. Like, I have friends at school, they were like, is this your dad? Like, is he on the news again? Like, yeah, that's my dad, like doing what he's, out in the community, being the voice for people that, whose voices otherwise not, might not be heard and stuff like that. So just all of that, it helps me, working on how I need to, be. So yeah.
Zion, what are you thankful for from your dad?
I'm thankful that my dad is always there for me when I need him. And at every track meet, even if it's not a big meet, and just there for me and pushing me through life and letting me know that I can overcome the things that's happened to me and just to keep going.
Very good. Ray Muhammad Sharrieff.
Yes.
Your dad, call his name.
My dad is Bobby Ray Harps Jr. I mean Senior, and I'm Bobby Ray Harps Jr. Really, that's my birth name.
And what lesson did he teach you most that you have transmitted or tried to translate to your son?
Wow, Derrick. Wow. There are so many. My father, wow.
Was it?
I think that one lesson would be that, son, you're gonna have to continue on even if there's a mistake to be made. My father would share with me oft times of the mistakes that he made as a father to us. Like Gerry, my father have 23 children. I am one of 23 children that my father had from multiple wives. So I guess the lesson that I would try to convey, that I learned from my father and try to convey to my son, is that no matter what mistakes that we make in life, that we still going to have to continue. Forgive yourself, because my dad, before he passed, he would often tell me that, son, you just got to forgive yourself, because that's when I forgave myself, and then your and our relationship became much stronger because I forgave myself. So I think that was that one profound lesson that my daddy taught me that I try very hard to teach my son.
Sharrieff, what are you thankful for from your father on this Father's Day?
I say I'm thankful for instilling in me like the discipline, the drive, and yeah, just that, and showing me like how to be a dad. I got me a little girl of my own now. So it's like, I find that I'm a lot like my dad when it comes down to like that mushy stuff and the loving and whatnot, you know, like, cause it's just, yeah, I learned that from him. And so I'm thankful for the discipline and the drive that he gave me, you know, and that mindset, you know, just to, no matter what, it's going to be all right. You know, you're going to always, you know, things going to get better no matter what happens, you know, so I'm thankful for that too.
Miguel Dominguez, talk about your dad or the significant male figure in your life. What did he teach you that you want your son to know or learn? And then, son, what are you thankful for your dad who sit right next to you? Miguel.
Well, you know, unfortunately, unlike some of the other men on this call, my father really failed me in some rather significant ways. But as I sit here today, I'm still grateful for that example, because he really taught me some very significant lessons about life, and mainly that, you know, even when you have it all and you're very intelligent and have all the external things that folks might define as success, ultimately, if you let your hardships from the past eat away at you and lead to dependence, alcohol dependence, substance dependence, you can lose it all. That pain can cost you everything. And my father certainly lost everything as a result of all his pains and hangups that he carried with him, even a relationship with his own son and wife. And so that has been the biggest lesson that I got from my father, and it's what makes me the father and husband that I.
Lion, as you look at your father, what do you want him to know at this point of your life that you're most thankful for him?
I would say I'm most thankful for him always pushing me to work harder, whether it's at soccer or school. He's always pushing me to work harder and giving me a reason to work harder. Because when I see him come home from work late and he's tired, that just gives me more reason to work harder and at school and soccer and stuff like that.
Very good. Dr. Chris Bass.
Yes, sir.
Lessons learned from either your father, the most significant male figure in your life, that you want your son to know, and then, son, what are you most thankful for at this stage of your life from your father?
Well, I echo a lot of what Miguel talked about, also a lot of what Ray talked about. It wasn't always easy, growing up the way that I did. But one thing that I learned is that the only thing that you have in many cases is your name.
Right.
So you defend your name, you make your name, go beyond your years on this earth. So
That's
if
right.
I could teach my son nothing else, is to protect the name Bass.
Protect the brand. Look, Chris, what are you thankful when you look at your dad sitting next to you? What are you thankful for him on this Father's Day?
So this might sound so simple, but it means so much to me, and it's being able to have somebody to talk to. You find in many African-American communities or just male figures alone, they have to be this hard, figure, and very, very tough, very, on you, and very demanding, commanding. But throughout my childhood and my upbringing, he's been someone that I can truly talk to about anything. Even today, we're going all over the city looking for apartments for this upcoming semester, and I could be like, I got everything all taken care of, but nah, I was able to talk to him about how I felt about this place, and I might have to pay for this, or I might have to pay for that, and I don't know if I can afford that, but he was somebody I could talk to. So just having somebody to talk to throughout my life has been very and truly important for me.
Thank you. Attorney Davis.
Yes, sir.
Talk about your father. What lessons did you learn from Big Mel that you want Kobie and Kahari to get? And then Kobie, what are you most thankful for at this stage of life from your father on this Father's Day?
Yeah, I'm actually talked to Big Mel today. And I think what I learned was how to work hard from him, seeing him training when he was playing with the get up and early, get on the bike, stand or run up hills, go shoot shots. Saw that it wasn't easy. And then I also just, how he tried to love me, me, kiss me, going out to dance, dancing with me around the house, all that kind of stuff. Cooking breakfast for me was is something that I try to do for the boys, because he cooked breakfast. Oh, you in there? Cook. My mother's creeping around the back.
Hey, Mama Adam.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Mama.
She
love
earned the right to do that.
Cameo, right?
She wanted to hear this. She's been inspired. But cooking for the boys, man. That meant a lot to him and his men.
Really good. Kobie?
I think I'm just grateful for my dad just showing, setting an example for how to show love, to whether it be your immediate family, your close friends, your community. He just showed, taught me the importance of just treating everybody with respect and just trying to love on people when you can, and just the importance of valuing your family members. And I think I'm grateful just to have all my grandparents are all alive and here.
Wow.
I'm just grateful to just have my family and want to, you know, keep building up the Davis family.
And what is your favorite breakfast he cooked, by the way?
Scrambled eggs and cheese, pancakes,
All right.
chicken sausage.
There you go. Keep the scrambled eggs, cheese, pancake, chicken sausage. What's the next breakfast day so I can show up over there and see what his breakfast like? Gerry White, Dr. White.
Yes, sir.
Lessons from dad, and that you want your daughters to know, or lessons you won't omit it.
Beautiful. Let me tell you, the one thing about my father this very day. My father is very affectionate. Anybody knows me, I'm telling brothers all the time, I love you. And men don't do that a lot, but anybody knows me, I'm always, I love you, man. And I do it without shame, and I do it proudly. Why? Because my father's like that. I'm 55 years old. He still calls me baby. Hey, baby. You know, and so that level of affection is certainly what I passed on. My girls know that I'm absolutely affectionate. They'll see me call them daddy's girl, daddy's young ladies, and I do that because of that which is passed on. But DB, I'm going to tell you where we are, and brothers that know me, where I am with my father, where I talk to him on a daily basis. We had to get there. From childhood trauma to adult, we got there. And because I believe that people change, and because people change, they're changeable. And so I knew when my father almost died from a cancerous tumor that's listed in the New England Journal of Medicine right now, that required him to lose his large intestine. My father has no stomach, which was a big man. But because of that cancer, he's a small man now. But on what he thought was his deathbed, you know, my father, I had to, in that moment, free all hurt and anger I may have had, and ensure him that he was going to make it through. Why was that so important? Because I knew that if my father didn't wake up, all that I had, he would have took with him and would have been stuck with me. And when he made it through, DB, I want you to understand, from that moment, I told my dad, I love you, Daddy, I love you. Even as Jaya and I was laughing, even as we discovered we have more and more brothers and sisters, you know, and still, but, you know, the more the merrier. And that's the way all my siblings are. You know, we do that. Dad, another one? I mean, he's like Khalid, and another one, right? So here we are all these years later. But yeah, my father loves and has raised every one of us. And that's the part that I impart. Every man makes a personal private promise to be better to his children than what his father was to him. Even great fathers, we still make that personal private promise. And that's what my goal is, and why Celeste and I were so intentional about naming them, because I declared faith, I declared purpose, and I declared victory in my own family. And that's what I get to pour into them.
Thank you, Doc. Jaya, what are you thankful on this Father's Day from the man who sits right next to you?
Among like all things, I think my dad's support and dedication, like he shows dedication to everything. He has multiple things on his plate, but yet he still finds time for me and my sisters. Like even in middle school, when I played softball, and in high school, he was always there, always in my practices. He would play catch with me. So much so to the point in middle school, I don't even know how, but he became a coach. Like he was out there with me.
Y'all won a championship too.
We did. We were undefeated. And so it's just like, he's always there. And even now in college, when I'm, you know, doing my multiple things, you know, trying to become a veterinarian, working with animals, he doesn't stop me. He supports me to, like, you know, go out for the job, go out for this club to be president, go out to do this, work with these animals, go out on the farm. Like he doesn't, he lets me be me, and he supports me in all my decisions that I make, and he helps me make those decisions if I come to him.
Very good. Just y'all come over here. I got a raccoon that keep getting in my trash over here. Just come over here and catch him for me, will you, please? Okay. I think we Quintus, junior and senior. I think you're all the last ones, if my memory serves me correct. Q Parker. Q. Father, significant male figure in your life, what lessons you learned, and Lil Q, what are you thankful for from your father?
My father, Quintus Parker, the original Quintus Parker, man, I love him so much. I know the word sacrifice. I know the word hard worker because I watched my dad do this day in, day out, and be committed to it. But I think one of the bigger things that I'm so grateful for my father is the word kindness. Too often we may forget that kindness is an action word, and it's a choice to be kind. And a lot of times people forget that kindness is a real thing. And my dad is one of the sweetest. I mean, growing up, he was a disciplinarian, but he is this man. He's just a sweetheart, man. He's so loving and just so supportive, and he just really really kind. And so I try my best to adopt those same qualities as being a hard worker, but also just being kind to people that I come in contact with.
All right, Lil Q, talk to your dad. What do you want him to know at this stage of your development that you're most thankful for him on this Father's Day?
I would like to let him know that I'm thankful for him giving me a part of his thought process. And what I mean is, growing up, he would teach me stuff little by little, but he wouldn't teach me like, you have to do this or this will happen, like in like a consequence type way. He would say, if you do this, this is what's gonna happen, as like considering other people in this sense, if you understand what I'm saying. And I'm also thankful for his drive, I would have to say, because he wakes up at 6 a.m. and go works out. I can't even do that. He motivates me to go do what I need to do for the day. So I'm just thankful for his drive and his thought process. Yeah.
All right. I think to everybody, did we miss anybody in that final round of conversation? Let me say this before I toss it back to Reverend Derrick Rice, to all of the sons and daughters on here. You are indeed lucky and fortunate to have the kind of dads. I know all of them, and now I've met Reverend Tabb, and so they're great men. And so thank you for this conversation, which is valuable and valid. And it seems as if there are strong relationships all around. We can all learn and grow. And thank you to the men who are on here for being vulnerable enough to admit that while you have not been perfect fathers, that you're willing to work at it. And that has made the difference. And so thank you to the Proctor Conference for allowing us to have this conversation and being bold enough to say this is a conversation worth having. I turn it back on. Thank you for allowing me to just moderate in this conversation. I hope we will do more of this, because we need to make sure that the world know that there are Black men out there who are fathers, who are uncles, who are brothers, who love their sons and daughters, and who love the community at the same time. So on that note, thank you for the conversation, everybody. I turn it back over to Reverend Derrick Rice for our closeout comments on behalf of the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference. Thank you all. And happy Father's Day.
I was about to start off right there. Happy Father's Day to all of the viewers who are watching, who have watched this very powerful discussion with Black fathers and their children. I'm thankful to you, Derrick Boazman, beyond what words I have. There's only one or two people in the world that I can think of that I could simply say, brother, can you get on and moderate a discussion? And you do it so masterfully. No questions were given to you, no framework was given to you, but I don't think this could have been done any better. The other thing I want to say is thank you to each and every one of the brothers who shared. Thank you to all of your children, because this is clearly an act of what relationships look like. Not very many people can be called a day or two before and say, can you come and share? and then people share from their hearts. And so thank you from the bottom of mine. And the final thing that I absolutely would be remiss if I did not mention is if Attorney Mawuli Davis is still on the phone, we would all be remiss if we did not give an opportunity for Mawuli to take 5 or 10 seconds just to say a word about the book that he just wrote. It is called We Need You. And it is a book that is specifically about encouraging his son's generation for Black liberation. If that's not what we're talking about, I don't know what we are. So Mawuli, if you could take a quick moment to talk about the book and tell the world where they can get it so that Black fathers and Black men can be inspired by the powerful work that you've done. And without following that, we'll close out and say thank you again to all of our viewers. Mawuli?
Well, thank you, D. I appreciate it, brother. It's a book I wrote to my sons and their generation, which is, Jaelyn and Jaelyn and Zion, all of these young people, just to say what I learned through our relationships and Let Us Make Man in organizing work and the joy that we find in fighting for liberation for our people and the decisions that we make all, are reflected here in this conversation. And I want my sons to be a part of something like this when they're in their 50s, and there's decisions that you have to make in your 20s so that you are able to do the work and be a part of the work. And that's what the book is about. They can get it through Third World Press out of Chicago, Brother Hakeem Adabuti's press, or they can get it through MawuliDavis.com. And then, just Google it and pull it up. We Need You, encouraging my son's generation for Black liberation. So it's just an offering and hopefully a conversation started between fathers and sons and fathers and daughters.
Thank you, brother. We thank each and every one of you all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.